Hi everyone. This video is a combination of all the recent documents that I've sent. It is the grade 10 Lit Test SPA one, the grade 10 November one, the one that says hope, as well as a young man's thoughts before June 16. Okay, so you have the questions in front of you. I'm gonna go through the answers with you, and then when I have sent this video, I will then send the memo for all of them. Okay, so we are first starting off with He Wishes for the Cloths of Heaven. And if you guys remember correctly, that this poem is basically about a man. And he's saying, I wish that I could provide my beloved with all the best things in life. I wish that I could do so many things, but unfortunately I cannot. Right? The only things I can give her are my hopes and dreams, because to me, my hopes and dreams mean so much. So I can only offer her my hopes and dreams. And because it's so important to me, when I lay it at her feet, my beloved's feet, she needs to tread very lightly and softly on it, right? So he's kind of like saying, please accept me. And remember, it's divided into three parts, okay? In the beginning, it's lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the wish, all the things he wishes he could do. 6 and 7 is the offer. No, sorry, I'm confusing myself. It's the wish. No, it's right. It's the wish. Then it is the offer. 6 and 7, the things that he can give her. And the last one is the request. Okay. Some people can see it a bit as a warning, because he says, you need to tread softly on my dreams. So it's kind of like a request slash warning. Okay. So let's look at the first question. It says, refer to lines 1 to 2 that say, had I the heavens embroidered cloths, enwrought with golden and silver light. Explain the significance of this metaphor in the context of the poem. Okay? Whenever they say context of the poem, they mean you know what the poem is about. You've read the poem and you know what the lines mean, the metaphors mean, all of these things. That's what they mean by in context of the poem. Significance is kind of like the importance. Why is it so important, this metaphor? Right? Because he's now comparing this cloth to this embroidered, beautiful cloth from heaven that has all this golden and silver light. And remember, we said these colors, gold and silver, represent heaven, they represent wealth, they represent all these beautiful things, right? So here you can say, first of all, this is the beginning of his wish. Okay, line 1 and 2 is the beginning of his wish. And he's saying, I wish I had all the wealth of heaven that I could give to my beloved. That's how he starts it off. Okay, and it's hyperbolic. Okay, remember, he's making a very extreme wish. Remember, hyperbole, however you want to say it, it's an exaggeration of something. So he's saying all of these things in a very exaggerating way, okay? And you're not just going to give your beloved any old raggedy rag, okay? If you're going to give them something, you're going to give them the best. So he wishes that he had the finest cloths to give to his beloved, right? Hoping that she would take this cloth and basically reciprocate his love, his feelings for her, right? And because it is such an exquisite piece of cloth, it would signify how much he cares for her, and hopefully she would understand that. So basically, these cloths are signifying his wish that he would give her these cloths that are made of all the beautiful things, these wealthy things, these amazing things. He would give it to his beloved. She would hopefully accept his feelings and his love for her, and she would reciprocate it, give it back, show that she also cares about him, and realize he actually loves me so much because this cloth is so amazing. Okay, Then 1.2, discuss the progression in tone throughout the poem. Remember, tone is the way you say something, right? So obviously the way he is saying these things will show, certain emotions that he's feeling, okay? So there are 3 different tones. First one, okay, the first 5 lines, remember we said that is the wish, okay? And because he is saying wish, his tone is wistful, okay? It's a wishful tone, but don't say wishful, it's a wistful tone, okay? Because he is saying all the things that he wants to do. His desires are all in those first 5 lines, okay? Then 6th and 7th, the mood then changes to that of an offering. Remember, it's the offer that he's giving, okay? And the last one is now where he's now almost humble, almost very vulnerable tone, because he's saying, please, take care of my dreams and my emotions, which are the only things that I can give to you. Please don't take it for granted. Please don't stomp on it. Please don't reject me. So it went from wistful to almost, a tone of offering, to that of a vulnerable, very sincere and humble tone in the last line. Then 1.3, comment on how the effective use of pronouns and present tense contribute to the central idea of the poem. So they're already saying that these pronouns and present tense are effective, right? Now you need to tell me how effective are they when they are contributing to the central idea of the poem. Okay, so the pronouns that are used are the first person and the third person. I, right, is very personal, so it's coming from his heart, okay? But also third person because, we are also seeing all the things that he would like to do for his beloved, right? And because he's talking in the present tense, okay? It's not something that happened or something that will happen. So it creates a sense of intimacy, and we mean intimacy in the term in a way that it's very sincere, it's very loving, it's not just anything, it's very intimate because it's coming from deep within, it's coming from in his heart, it's very sincere, okay? And because it has personal pronouns and because it's in the present tense, okay, we are now reading into his experience because it's his own experience, okay? And because it's in the present tense, he would like it now. The wish, the offer, the request or warning, right? It's very immediate, it's urgent, it's in the now. It didn't happen, it isn't going to happen. So yeah, that's it. And then 1.4, refer to lines 7 to 8. Remember, that is the request / warning. Let's say, I have spread my dreams under your feet. Tread softly because you tread on my dreams. Comment on whether these lines are an appropriate conclusion to the poem. Okay, so, we know that what he wishes to give her is what he is unable to give her. What he can give her are his hopes and his dreams and his love, which he feels are very more valuable, right? And it's the only thing that he can give, okay? So now this is his attempt to kind of get her in and saying, despite all the things I can't give you, these are the things I can give you. Instead of these expensive cloths of heaven that I'm going to give to you, right? And he's now saying, if I could, I would bring these expensive things and I'd put it under your feet. Okay? And remember we said, if I put something underneath Solulele's feet and he's barefoot and my cloth is on the floor, it's going to protect his feet from the dirt and all the other things on the ground. So I'm putting this expensive thing. Now, if you're going to go and you're going to now, run and do all those funny things on the cloth, it's going to tear, it's going to break, right? So always think of it like that. Tread very softly and carefully on this expensive cloth, right? Just imagine that it is his hopes and dreams and all these things he wants to give to her. So if she doesn't tread softly, it's going to tear. So because she does, it's almost like she is caring back. Okay, she understands the sincerity of his emotions. Okay, and so again, if he puts these expensive things below her feet and she treads softly, she is reciprocating his love. She understands his sincerity. Okay, and he that's the only thing he can offer after he's given his wish and all these other things. So that's basically it. Okay, sorry about the lighting. It's probably going to get worse and worse, but as long as you can see what's on screen, that is fantastic. This is just a quick revision of soccer Karoo style. We went through this a lot. We've done a lot of questions. It's pretty straightforward, so let's just go over it quickly. 2.1, discuss the effectiveness of the use of the word shoe. Now, shoe is a very informal word, and it kind of sets the scene that this is in South Africa, right? Because the whole poem is based around South Africa. Okay, it's in a South African setting, so it just sets the scene that this poem is linked strongly to South Africa. 2.2, refer to lines 1 to 3, which basically are naming all of the animals. And it says, explain why the poet makes a reference to all the animals. He's making a reference because he's describing the different forms of life that live in this rural area. Okay, because in a rural area, you will find a lot of these animals, right? Yes, we find our cows and our chickens here in King, but it is more common for them to see a family of chickens, a Great Dane, 3 piglets, a cow. It's supposed to be cow. Okay, so it's basically just describing how this rural setting area has all of these animals, and that these animals and humans coexist. Okay, because they are in an area where humans are also, but they're just shooing them away. It's not like they're panicking, they're just shooing them away because they know that these animals and humans coexist. 2.3, refer to stanza 1. Comment on the effectiveness of the metaphor. So first of all, you need to identify the metaphor. And we know that the metaphor is, where's this? Burst into a flower. Okay, the ball hooved the ball skyward and it burst into a flower. Okay, we know the image it creates in our minds. Okay, so a comment on the effectiveness, it's showing us that the ball, right, is being compared to a flower that has petals that are opening, right? So the force with which the ball was kicked has now shot it up into the sky, and it is now kind of burst open. The fabric of the ball is burst open, representing the opening of a petal of a flower, basically. So it looks like a blooming flower. Okay, and 2.4, critically comment on how the structure of the poem reinforces the central idea of the poem. Okay, so there's no rhyming there. Okay, there is no rhyme structure. It is a free verse poem. Okay, now because it's free verse, it also just shows that it is also conversational because there is no strict structure. Okay, it is just flowing, it is just going with the flow. Okay, and it's not like this line reads quicker than this one. It just shows the slow pace, because you can read it at whatever pace actually, but it represents the slow pace that you find in a rural area because there's no rush there. Okay, everyone but everyone goes at their own pace, especially when humans and animals are coexisting. Everyone's at their own pace. So it represents the slow pace that you'll find in this rural area. Okay, where animals and people live together in one big community. Free verse, no strict or no formal rhyming structure. That's basically all. Okay, so now we're looking at a poetry essay of the caged bird. It is in the one PDF that is named Hope. Okay, I was just supposed to do Hope is a thing with feathers there, but I realize you guys are very scared of doing poetry essays, but it's actually not that difficult. Remember, in a poetry essay, they will normally say, like you see here, where's this? Oh, yellow is too bright. Okay, do you see there at the bottom, right? They will normally give you something that they want you to discuss, right? Whether it's a main message, whether it's a part of it. And sometimes it'll be like, using the diction, using the imagery, and using tone. Discuss how this message is portrayed in an essay, right? Diction, choice of words, tone, the way things are said, because of the words that are used. Don't know what's happening outside. And imagery, the picture, the image that is created because of the words, okay? But in this poem, right, it says the poem Caged Bird can be seen as an allegory, okay? An allegory is a poem that reveals a deeper political or moral message. Now we know Caged Bird is not just talking about a caged bird and a free bird. We know it's actually talking about oppression, okay? So, as an allegory for racial oppression. In an essay of 150 to 200 words in length, discuss how this allegory can be applied to the racial oppression that happened in South Africa, which is apartheid. So you're going to go and look now. Here is this poem, right? We know what it's talking about. Caged bird versus free bird. Caged bird representing those of color, those who are oppressed. Free bird, those who were white, those who were men, for example. Those who had the basic human rights that the caged bird was not afforded. Okay, so you're going to go and now take certain parts of there and you're going to now tell me, how does this poem portray racial oppression, this apartheid? How does it link with that? Okay, so the first thing you're basically going to talk about is the fact that we have the free bird, right? And we have the caged bird. You tell me, what does the caged bird represent? What does the free bird represent? Because we see that they are now, is it juxtaposed? I don't know how to say it, juxtaposed, right? They are two completely opposites that are being compared throughout, okay? And you're going to now say, you're going to give me a bit more about apartheid, who was oppressed, right? So now you're setting the scene. You're telling me the two main metaphors. You're explaining that. You give me a bit of background on apartheid. Then you are now going to now go deeper. Now you're going to go say, for example, the free bird. This is all that they could do. Compared to the caged bird, this is all that they could do. And you're now going to say, for example, we said in the poem, the free bird could spread its wings and the sunset and the water and the breeze and the trees. Those are all things that a bird should be able to do, right? And that is what the free bird can do. But the caged bird cannot do that. So that, for example, those are certain certain basic rights that the free bird has, but the caged bird does not, right? Then you can give me a quote. You can quote certain words, like here, for example, we know fat worms names the sky his own. Those are things that the free bird has, which shows its privilege, which shows its entitlement, right? We know the free bird can leap, it can soar, whereas the caged bird cannot do those things, right? The free bird knows all. He doesn't actually know that he's privileged because he's doing things that birds should be doing. The caged bird knows that he is missing out because he is only in his cage. Okay? Remember, he's in his narrow cage. You can even quote that, which shows that he is being confined, restricted, which is also what black people in apartheid did. How? Because they were confined to certain rural settlements, they had their pass, all of those things. Okay? Their wings were clipped, You can even quote that. Oh, here's it. Fantastic. Wings are clipped, feet are tied. Okay, that shows how this cage bird is physically restricted, but also metaphorically and symbolically, just like how black people, people of color in South Africa were restricted as well. Physically, emotionally, mentally, all those things. Remember, they couldn't vote, they couldn't choose where they wanted to study, they couldn't even go into a certain part without being arrested if they don't have their pass. Okay, and also we can say things such as the cage bird can only open his throat to sing, right? Words such as longed, distant, sings of freedom. You can only sing about it, you can only think about it, you can only dream about it because it was something that was not obtainable back then. Okay? And then basically in your conclusion, you'll just summarize it, how the cage bird did not have certain privileges or even certain basic rights that a bird should have had. And we know this because it saw how the free bird was enjoying all of these things. Okay, and then you relate it again, just like how people of color in South Africa were experiencing the same thing during apartheid. You will see it in the memo when I send it, but 150 words goes quickly. This is a fantastic essay. You can get really good marks if you speak about these things. Okay, quote a few, explain a few metaphors, what certain diction means, and you can get a fantastic mark. Okay, now just for an extra bit, I thought let's maybe just do this unseen poem together. This is Hope's one, the Hope document. It's called Miss Rosie by Lucille Clifton. Okay, I haven't gone through this, so all of us are going to go through it for the first time. Okay, so we see there 18 lines. The structure already looks quite free verse, it's not a certain equal amount of words per line. Don't see any breaking between sections. I don't see any stanzas. So let's just read and see what happens. When I watch you, wrapped up like garbage, sitting, surrounded by the smell of 2 old potato peels. Or when I watch you in your old man's shoes, with the little toe cut out, sitting, waiting for your mind like next week's grocery. I say, when I watch you, you wet brown bag of a woman, who used to be the best looking gal in Georgia, used to be called Georgia Rose. I stand up through your destruction. I stand up. Okay, it's a bit intense, but okay. Note, Georgia is a state of the southeastern coast of the United States of America. So, 5.1, using your own words. Provide 2 pieces of evidence from the poem that Miss Rosie is a homeless person. Okay, so I can't go back. So you're going to have to just have it somewhere there with you. So we know that she's sitting by old rotten vegetables, the potato peels, as it mentioned there. She is a she, but she's wearing men's shoes with her little toe sticking out. She looks like a dirty, wet, brown bag. Okay, and she's wrapped up in garbage. So those are 2 pieces of evidence. Okay, 5.2 refer to line 13. Okay, the figure of speech used to describe Rosie in this line. Okay, why don't I have this? Okay, it is a metaphor. I don't know why I can't go back. Anyways, 5.2.2, discuss the effectiveness of this image referred to in 5.2.1. I was talking about the wet garbage grocery bag thing. Okay, so we know that it is effective, okay, because she is dirty and neglected. We know that she's dirty and neglected because she's being described as a discarded grocery bag. What happens to a grocery bag in America now? Remember, they must use those brown paper bags. And if that is thrown out, it goes and it tears and it goes into puddles of water and all these things. It gets dirty, it gets wet, it gets disgusting. So she's being referred to as being dirty and neglected because she's homeless. Okay. 5.3. Refer to line 15. What does the name Georgia Rose suggest about how she used to look? Okay, so obviously when you look at a rose, rose is most seen as the prettiest flower. Okay, so the fact that there's rose in her name suggests that she was a very pretty woman, just like a rose is a pretty flower. Okay, roses have a nice smell, they have a nice appearance, so maybe she was well known for her beauty once before. Georgia Rose. And I mean, they're in Georgia, so if that is a title regarding a whole state, that just shows how big of a beauty she was. It can even be like maybe like a title, maybe she was a beauty queen or something. You can even get a mark for that. Okay, quote one word that is an example of American slang language. Gal. Okay, it's supposed to be girl. So if they ever ask you to give the correct English word of that, will be girl. 5.5. Do you think lines 16 to 18 are important in the poem? Explain how they show Miss Rosie's situation and why they matter. Okay, so remember, she's all alone now. She's homeless. Okay, and it's showing how she has descended from wherever she was in the past and how she's all alone now. Okay, and because she's alone, maybe some people neglected her, they pushed her away, we don't know why. Okay, and it's also just symbolizing the environment that she's in. Because she's homeless, she's obviously not going to be able to be in the best of environments, so the environment that she's also in can also be very harsh, it won't be as nice for her to be in. Okay, and it says here it contributes to the poem's themes of vulnerability and societal indifference. Because when we see a homeless person, majority of the time people walk past, there's nothing you can do. They're just like, oh, they did that themselves, they there because of the choices they made. So that's what they mean by societal indifference. Like, it's just like, it's part of everyday life. I'm in this level of society, they there. It's just a hierarchy. So yeah, that's basically all. I think we're doing mother to mother now. No young man's thoughts, then mother to mother. Okay, a young man's thoughts. Some of these questions we have kind of done, but it's always good to redo it, especially because this was done, I think, end of second term. Okay, so identify 3 things that the poet knows he will have to give up once he embarks on his journey of protest. Remember, it's all about a young man. They are planning. Remember, it's the day before the June 16th march, and he's basically thinking of all the things he's going to have to give up, all of the things that he's fighting for. So identify the 3 things that he will have to give up once he embarks on his journey of protest, which will be the next day. Remember, it was things such as his youth, because he's talking about his friends and their Friday night shenanigans, his mother, youth, mother, and friends. Those are the 3 things he's going to give up. Number 2, find an example of each of the following: enjambment, euphemism, alliteration. Remember, euphemism is a nicer way of saying something harsh. Okay, enjambment is when the lines run on. Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds. Okay, so enjambment is lines 3 to 4, 10 to 12, 10 to 11. A euphemism is in line 13. That says sunset is drenched with red. If something is drenched with red, it's obviously very intense, and this red is obviously going to be blood. Okay, and the death of all the learners that was shot that day. And alliteration in line 6, it's the F sound. Line 7, the B sound. Lines 8 to 9, the S sound. Line 11, the B sound. And line 12, the S sound. I feel like I'm in bingo. But you're going to check this on the memo, so don't worry. But just go and identify those lines and those sounds. And remember, if they ask you, you need to just underline the letter if you like checking, okay? Number 3, discuss the context in which this poem was written. Okay, context is what was happening at that time, and we know obviously it was written during the apartheid time in South Africa. Okay, and obviously the school kids were protesting because they were going to be forced to learn in Afrikaans, and they did not want that because it was the language of the oppressor. Okay, and this young man is basically just foreseeing all the tragic events that will happen, because of police brutality and so on. 4, explain the meaning of the last 2 lines of the poem. I don't know why I don't have the poem with me, but it's fine. The last 2 lines, if you have it on you, basically the young man is saying that he might die in the protest, okay? And if he dies, he obviously won't be able to sing the song himself, okay? And remember, he mentioned sunset. Sunset is the end of the day, so it represents the end of a journey, the end of something. And in this case, that something is his life. So the sunset is the end of his life that will be drenched in blood, in red, which is obviously the blood. And basically it's a very violent, harsh way of dying. He's saying it in a nicer way, but he knows that it's probably going to end up in a bloody mess, and that's how a lot of the kids did end up. Number 5, summarize the message of the poem in a short sentence. So it's basically a young freedom fighter, and he is, he's talking about the human aspects. He's not just talking about the political side. He's saying all the things that are associated with humans. Because yes, it was a political battle, but at the end of the day, he's just a human. He's just a young boy. And he's talking about the humanity of resistance. Okay, he's not just saying, because of this political thing and that political thing. He's talking about the humanity of resistance. Okay, and he's not politically criticizing anything anywhere. Okay, he is basically just talking about all the things that can go wrong, all the things people are missing out on, all the sad things that happen that makes up humanity. He's not talking about anything political there. Okay, 6, comment on the effectiveness of the alliteration in the following lines. So we see here broad belch of beer. Okay, so we see there's alliteration of the B sound there, and belch is that burp that people have after they drink alcohol, and in this case there is beer involved. And normally when you're drinking beer, it's a fun time, people are all joyous together, you're not really worrying about anything. So the sound is basically representing the happy young people who are now enjoying an evening together and they're carefree. Okay, 6B, sad song sung by a woman. We have an S sound there, but because of that S sound, it slows down. You're going to say sad songs all over. Sad song sung. So it slows down the sentence, okay? And it basically emphasizes the sadness of the impending song. Okay, so basically the impending song is the song that's going to come, all the tragedy that's going to come. It's slowing it down to represent that sadness, because remember, you're going from being happy and now you're starting to slow down because the sadness is kicking in, because all these tough times are going to be coming. Okay, where's this? Strummed by an old man with a broken brow. There's O, but there's also B there. Okay. But more so emphasis, on the broken brow. Okay, so this is your brow. My brow is straight-ish. Broken, you're not gonna see it, but if you're broken, it's basically you frowning. Okay, because normally when you relax, your brow is relaxed, but now broken brow is representing an old man that is maybe frowning. Okay, it can also be because of wrinkles, but mostly because of frowning, and it's kind of foreshadowing what's going to happen the next day, because we know it's going to be a bloody bath literally the next day. And then the last one is the S's. Oh, sing my sad song, sing for me. Okay, again, it's slowing it down a bit and it's emphasizing the sadness that's about to come. Number 7, describe the structure of this poem, not what it is about. Don't tell me what the poem is about. Describe the structure and say whether you think it is effective. Remember when I said describe the structure, you need to tell me what do you see. Okay, so obviously here it's a free verse. We don't see any rhyming scheme. There's no punctuation. There's not like a comma here, a full stop there. So it's just a free flow poem. And you know, when you are anxious, so when you're thinking a lot, there's no full stops in your thoughts, right? Might be some exclamation marks, but mostly it's because you are just thinking and thinking and thinking. That's a constant flow. Okay, so because there's no punctuation, because there's nothing stopping this, it's representing all the anxiety, the doubts, all of these thoughts that are just all over the show in this young man's mind the day before he's going to go march, where he knows he could possibly die. Okay. Number 8, what is implied about the persona in the lines, I take with me only the sweet memories of my youth? Okay, so if you're taking something with you, right, it's because you want to keep it, right? You want to cherish it. But he's not taking a physical thing. He's taking an abstract thing. Remember, so he can't hear it, can't touch it, can't see it, can't taste it, can't feel it. So he's taking these memories, these good memories, because he wants to cherish it, because he knows he's leaving his youth behind, metaphorically and physically. Physically, because he's literally going to die as a young man, possibly, and metaphorically because after the march, there's no way he's going to just remain as this innocent young boy, this teenager. He's obviously going to be changed, so now he wants to take those things with him. Okay, number 9, from lines 8 to 12. Okay, the poet mentions adults and what their response will be tomorrow, and we know tomorrow is the day of the protest. Okay, in the context of the poem, explain why the adults should sing and play a sad song. We know that because tomorrow is June 16th, the day of the protest, and a lot of brutal murders will be happening of these adults and parents, young children, and many of them will return home and their kids won't be able to return home. So the whole community will be in mourning. Okay. Number 10. Do you think the last line is a fitting ending to the poem? Explain your line. So it's fitting, it's about the sunset drenched in red. We think it's fitting because remember, sunset represents the end of something, and we are foreshadowing that the events of June 16th will be a very tragic one, will be very violent, very traumatizing even. Okay, and yeah, it's just basically him imagining what's going to happen, preparing himself for that possibility. So it is effective, and we know that it actually ended up being what happened. What he thought would happen actually ended up happening. Okay, I'm sorry that I'm cutting out here, but you have the questions in front of you. I hope you do. Number 11, comment on the rich imagery used in the last line. Again, it's about the sunset drenched in red. We know that it is a metaphor. Why? Because there is no like or as in it. It's a metaphor. It's comparing, but no like and no as. Metaphor. Okay. So the rich imagery, the image, the picture that is created because of the choice of words. The image created is the sunset drenched in blood. We know sunset again represents end of something, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful end to something. Drenched in red is the blood of the young people that would be brutally murdered while they are protesting for their rights. Okay, yeah, so the sunset and the streets will be drenched in blood, in red, which is the blood. Number 12, refer to the title. Explain the significance of the date. Again, it's basically the Soweto uprising, protest, all of that. You guys get it? 13, what is suggested about the road that winds to the top of the hill? What do you think that means? Okay, now going uphill is much more difficult than going downhill. Now, top of the hill also winds, goes and goes and goes. It's a long route, okay? And this represents that road to freedom, right? That's what they are fighting for. But it's a long and difficult road to get to freedom. It's a long struggle, and it was, okay? 14. How does the poet create a sense of immediacy and realism? Quote in support of your answer. Immediacy, the word tomorrow. Quoted, word tomorrow. Okay? As well as the word I, the pronoun I. It's real because he's saying I'm going to be involved. Tomorrow, immediacy. Okay? Yeah. Also talking about drinking beers with friends, him referring to his mom. These are all things that make it more realistic, okay, and especially also immediate. 15. Identify the tone in lines 8 to 13. Refer to an image and the use of diction in support of your answer. The tone is ominous, it's fearful, and you don't know what's going to happen, but you know that there is some fear in there, okay? And refer to an image and use of diction, okay? He asked for a sad song. Sad song is your diction. You could have asked for any song, but he's asking for a sad song, okay? Song will be sung by many people as well for a reason, and this reason is to mourn them, okay? And there will be blood in his tomorrow. Sunset drenched in red. Okay. And 16. Sunsets are often red. Here, the poet suggests something more. We know it represents end of life. People are going to be brutally murdered. The red represents the blood of those young protesters who were protesting at this June 16th march. Please, please get this right if it shows up. Thank you very much. Okay, finally to mother. Listen. Practice your essay questions in the book, in the novel, as well as ask AI to create essay questions for you. Okay? Contextual questions, same thing in your book. Ask AI. You need to know what happens. Okay? You know the majority. We've gone through it. I've given you all the things that you need, right? But you need to know what happens. Okay, very, very, very important. Let me actually highlight it. Very important. Is this place the extract in context? Okay, when you get a question like that, I don't want to know what is happening in the extract. I want to know what happened before, immediately before, leading up to the extract. Okay, so for example, right, you want to go buy bread. I have an extract here, okay, where Anati wants to go buy bread. So Anati's gonna say, it's gonna say Anati's going to buy bread, wah 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 wah, and she went to the spaza shop and she bought bread and it was 20 rand and wah 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 wah. Right? That is my extract. Now we know that before that extract, Anati had to have gone to her kitchen and seen, I don't have bread. I'm hungry. I want bread. I don't have bread. Now she's going to go look for money. She's going to now go do all of these things. So if I say place that extract of Anati buying the bread in context, you're going to tell me what she was doing before. So you're going to say Anati in grade what. She was in her house and she wanted to eat bread. She saw there was no bread and so she went to go find money for bread. She left her house and she went to go buy the bread. You tell me what happened almost immediately before the extract. Don't tell me what's in the extract. You will get 0. And that's an easy 3 mark. Okay. Sorry, Anati, I just had to. It was the first name. Okay, so this one, it's easy because it's chapter 1. We've done chapter 1 many times. Don't get laxy daisy. They could ask from chapter 12 or even chapter 8 and you didn't pay attention to chapter 8, for example. Okay, so place this extract in context. Basically here, it is someone speaking, talking about her son, talking about a son who killed someone. We see Guguletu and so on and so on. We don't get a name, but we know that it is Mandisa. Who is Mandisa? She is the mother of Xolisi. Xolisi is the one that murdered Amy Beale. Amy Beale is an young American student who was studying in Cape Town, right? And what is this speaking? It's not speaking. Mandisa is writing a letter. Who is she writing a letter to? To the mother of Amy Beale. Okay, and she's basically just speaking. She's trying to offload that guilt. That is where your marks come from. Okay, and you can mention a little bit of what's happening here because it ties in, because we know the whole of chapter 1 is Mandisa trying to say that Xolisi is not that guilty. You know, he is her child. Remember, Mandisa is always trying to put the role Xolisi had. She's always trying to say, yes, he did, but he's my son, and. Okay? So, you tell me who, what, when, where, why. Look at those things when you're looking at a place in context. Who, why, what, where, when. Okay. 5.2. Refer to lines 3 to 4. And I'm going to move slides and then it's not going to let me go back. So make sure you have this in front of you. This is the lit SPA one. Sorry. So refer to lines 3 to 4. 3 to 4, it says, well, it's actually, 2. Not after that first unbelieving shock. He's implanting himself inside me. Unreasonably and totally destroying the me I was, the me I would have become. Okay, still 5.2. Explain why Mandisa refers to her pregnancy to refer to, to shock, I don't know, at her son's behavior. Remember, Mandisa had an unplanned teenage pregnancy. Remember, she didn't know that even if there's no penetration, that you can still get pregnant. Remember how big her mother is on not getting pregnant. What will the neighbors say? What will the church community say? And all those things, right? So why is she referring to her pregnancy and referring that to her son's behavior? Remember, Mandisa says nothing shocks her anymore about her son. Okay, and she says that, even his conception was out of her control. She didn't expect that. So he's basically a force to be reckoned with, right? And because she fell pregnant with him, her future completely changed, right? Obviously, you can't, it's not that easy to go to school with the kid and everything, especially back then. Okay, so she's saying she can't control him, just like she couldn't control his conception, which was very out of her control. So why must she be blamed for his actions? And remember, back then, if your child did wrong, who was blamed? Your parent. Even though your parent had nothing to do with it, it's the child. And remember, Mxolisi, yes, maybe he got away with a lot of things that Mandisa let him get away with, but his community, his upbringing, the apartheid system, the police, all those things had a contribution to Mxolisi's upbringing, his mannerisms, his behaviors, his mentality, his actions, and so on. Okay, 5.3. Refer to lines 10 to 11. Account for Mandisa's question to Amy Beale's mother. Basically, they're saying explain why she's asking this question to Amy Beale's mother. Okay, and remember, Mandisa, she's trying to deflect the guilt that she is feeling for what Mxolisi has done to Amy Beale, right? And she's asking Amy Beale's mother, what was your daughter, a white girl, doing in Gugulethu by herself? Not by herself, but why was she there? Why was she in a rural black township during a time where white people were oppressing them? Why would she put herself there? And because she put herself there, she basically put herself in danger. So remember, Mandisa's always trying to take the guilt away from Mxolisi, her son, her everything, her firstborn. So if Amy Beale hadn't been there, everything would have been better, and Mxolisi wouldn't have killed her, basically. Okay, extract D. You can read through it basically, but they're talking about the police. And remember, they didn't have a good experience with the police in general, right? And remember, the police only got involved when it was one of their own, when it was white people that were involved in crimes or murders. And remember, we said that if it wasn't Amy Beale, who's a white person, if she wasn't murdered, this whole thing wouldn't have been the way it was. But because she was white, it was now blown out. Okay, 5.4. Oh my gosh, where is this thing? Yeah, refer to lines 1 to 5. The police are not our friends. They are to this day worse than ineffectual. Here in Gugulethu, we do not like the police. They are an endless source of irritation at best. At worst, a presence we dread, an affliction. We know that many innocent people have died in their care. Their blood-stained hands died, killed by the police. Discuss the community's attitude towards the police in these lines. Obviously, we can tell that they have no warm feelings towards them. In a time of apartheid, where, remember, also they were forced out of their homes, out of their community. Yes, the government implemented that, but who had to make sure they actually moved? The police, right? There's a lot of police brutality. They were the agents of apartheid. They were the ones ensuring that you're doing what the government is telling you to do, okay? And police are supposed to make sure that communities and people are safe. But they did that for the white people, but for black people, it was the opposite, right? And especially in the black townships, they would arrest and kill the leaders. Remember, people they couldn't really gather, because as soon as a few people gathered, then it'd be like, what are you planning? You've got something up your sleeve. I'm gonna arrest you. I'm gonna do all these things before you organize something that could oppose the government, okay? Especially any kind of resistance. So yeah, they did not have warm feelings towards them, because the police represented everything, the opposite of everything that they should have represented for them. Okay, and then 5.5, refer to lines 9 to 10. That says, but killing a white woman was quite another thing. Quite another thing. Critically discuss the validity and implications of Mandisa's statement in these lines. Okay, so basically she's saying the fact that it was a white woman, right, makes this whole thing worse. Okay, obviously back then white people were seen as humans. Black people and people of color were not. Okay, so now, as I said earlier, the police, if it was a black person or person of color, they wouldn't still bother. But because she was a white woman, one of their own, it was now blown to bigger proportions. A lot more attention was put on this murder, right? And unfortunately, that made it worse for Mxolisi because he was the perpetrator. Okay, but she says if it wasn't a white woman, if it wasn't anyone white, nothing would have happened. Yes, maybe he would have been murdered if they found him, if they even bothered to go and look for him. Remember, they went into the shack, they were pushing, they were doing all these things. I think they slapped one of the kids, I can't remember. They slapped, they were doing all these things. But if it was a person of color, they wouldn't even gone to that extent. So the fact that it's a white woman is what makes this whole thing bigger. And that is the unfortunate thing, basically. Okay, so let's look at this essay question. The novel Mother to Mother pits two mothers against each other who have both lost, you see there, lost, innocent children under a cruel apartheid system. Critically discuss the extent to which you agree with the above statement. 300 to 350 words, a page and a half. So obviously we know the two mothers, it's Mandisa, who's the mother of Mxolisi, and it's Emmy Beale's mom, which is the mother of Emmy Beale. And they are pit against each other because they are both trying to, it's like, my daughter, but my son, so they're against each other, right? And they have both lost innocent children under apartheid system. So when you are doing an essay, let me highlight, you need to mention who are the two mothers, right? You need to elaborate on the word lost. You need to elaborate on innocent children, and you need to discuss a cruel apartheid system. Okay, so lost in this instance, Emmy Beale is lost. Her mother has lost her because she is physically dead, right? And Mxolisi Mandisa lost him because he has now been arrested. Okay, you need to tell me, what did Emmy Beale do that she was lost and that she lost her innocence? And what did Mxolisi do that made him lost and lose his innocence? So we know that Emmy Beale, her naivety, her belief that I'm here to help, no one's going to do anything to me, because she had that good heart, naive but good. Her mindset like that, and her being in the right place at the wrong time, not even right place, but a wrong place, wrong time, right? The fact that all of those things happened is what caused or what led her to her murder, right? She didn't do anything. She didn't instigate anything. She didn't rub someone the wrong way. It's just because of her skin color and her naivety and her being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's what led to her being murdered. And that is how her mother lost her, right? Then you get Mandisa, whose son was never always a bad son, but his childhood, his upbringing, the circumstances, his friends were killed in front of him. He didn't have a father figure. The fact that his name isn't even the name that was given to him. The fact that his mom spends most of her time working outside for another family instead of her own family, the fact that he is joining gangs, the fact that he doesn't value education. That is how he lost his innocence and therefore led him to that fatal incident where he killed Amy Beale, and then Mandisa lost him for good. Right? He's probably going to be in jail, prison for a very long time. Okay, so basically that's all you're going to speak about. But the main thing is you need to remember the Peel method, right? Where's this thing? Peel. Oh my gosh, here's it. Peel, no? You're going to give me a point. So for example, a point is Amy Beale's naivety, right? That's your point. Then you're going to give me evidence. Your evidence of her naivety is that she went into a black township as a white person to drop off her friends, because that's evidence from the novel. Now I know you know what you're talking about, right? You're going to explain it. So you're going to say, because she went into that area and because she was a white person, that is what led her to being murdered. And that's how her mother lost her and how she lost her innocence, right? And then you're going to link it. Then you're going to link it now to the next paragraph where you maybe talk about Mxolisi and how he lost his things. So you give me a point. You give me evidence for that point. You explain it. You relate it back to the essay question, right? And then you link it further on. Don't retell the story, because if you retell it, you are not critically discussing. Okay? Now, in this case, you might think, oh man, Amy Beale, she wasn't lost, or she never had, or you might say Mxolisi never had an innocent side. Then you can say that, but you need to back it up. You need to give me the evidence to support what you are saying. Okay? So I try not give me too many points. Don't say all these different things and then you have so many things to explain. Give me the main ones, because then I can see, okay, you've given me your point, you've given me your evidence, you are explaining and linking it back. Then you get good marks, because the more points you have, then you don't have enough words to explain and give me evidence. So as long as you're in this, for example, this essay question, you've told me who the two mothers are, you've told me about their children, whom the parents, the moms, have lost them, and how also they've lost their innocence. You can interpret it any way, and you have to mention apartheid. That's basically all. So as I'm saying, practice with chat. You will get it. Practice with your books. You have it there. You need to just know what you're talking about. Okay, last one. This is it's kind of the same as the other one, so I'm going to leave these two questions and we're just going to move on to the other questions, if it's going to let me. Fantastic. Okay, so that extract is basically the same as the previous one. It's in the beginning, you know the drill. So 9.3, refer to lines 4 to 6 from the previous one, starting about the truth of him being inside the womb. Again, it's the fact that his conception was unplanned. She didn't expect it. It changed a lot of lives, so she can't control him. 9.4, refer to lines 7 to 10, but now people look, what does not belong. Discuss the possible reason for Mandisa's evident sarcasm. Remember, Mandisa was very upset and she was being sarcastic because, again, people see your child doing wrong. Who do they blame? They blame you. You are not parenting properly. You are not doing this. If you had done that differently, he would have or she would have been different. So she's being sarcastic because everything that the child does wrong comes back to the parent. But she's not there saying, Mxolisi, go kill that lady. Mxolisi, do that. Right? So she's being sarcastic because of all this unnecessary blame and these stigmas. The irony of 9.5, again, if it was any other person but a white woman. Okay. Extract B is from chapter 2. 9.6, discuss the importance of Mandisa's departing ritual with her children. Okay, so basically she's like saying when she now goes to work for Mrs. Who must tell me. When she goes to her madam, right? She does certain rituals. Like here, it says here, where's this? Standing at the back of the door, the kitchen door, facing the backyard, where the boys sleep in the tin shack, which is the hockey. You know these one-size-fits-all houses of Guguletu. As I step outside the door minutes later, I hastily throw a couple of reminders, what they're supposed to do for me that day around the house, what food they're not to touch, I'm supposed to have authority, wah, 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 wah. So imagine now if Mandisa literally woke up and she just left. And she left the kids to do whatever. So this ritual is something that she does every day. Right? She leaves at a certain time every day. She goes outside every day at a certain time to do certain things. This ritual, before she's about to leave, it shows that she does care about her kids. She's trying to create some kind of pattern and routine and normalcy in their lives because she's not around so often. So by her doing this, it shows she does care, she does want to be involved, but she unfortunately has to go and work. Okay. 9.7, refer to lines 4 to 6, standing at the back door, my children come, wah, 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 wah. Explain how Mandisa's sarcasm highlight the plight of her living situation under apartheid. So she's saying here, you know those one-size-fits-all houses of Guguletu don't expand as the children come. Remember, they were forced out of Blovley? Yeah. And they had no choice to leave. Remember, even though the circumstances weren't that amazing there, at least, they could make their houses their own. They had grown up there willingly. But now when they were forced into Guguletu, those tin shacks are so jam-packed, right? And you could literally hear the neighbor next door, the tin roofs, everything, right? So basically, she's just saying, one size fits all. So, for example, a bag. If I'm a tiny person and I have a bag, my bag's there. This is my bag. Here's my bag. Or this is one size fits all, right? Here's my lip gloss. For me, it's fine. It fits. But now, for example, someone who's got bigger hands or bigger lips or whatever, this is not necessarily going to work for them. Right? It's not one size fits all doesn't work for everyone. So one family of 5 living in a tin shack is going to be different to a family of 1 or 2. But she's now being sarcastic by saying it's one size fits all. They don't expand as the children come. The more children you pop out, it's not going to do anything. Your house is still going to be that small tin shack. Okay? So they're basically just talking about how they weren't provided for under the apartheid system because they were forcefully removed from their previous homes and forced into another place. 9.8, comment on the difference between Mandisa's home and work-life situation. Remember, at home, she has to leave her kids to their own devices. Then she has to go to Mrs. Nelson and she has to take care of her own kids there. Right? She has to take care of Mrs. Nelson. Mrs. Nelson leaves the house before the children go to school and comes back long after the son has gone to sleep. The car is small. Okay? She has to leave her children early in the morning, but she makes sure that she sees them, she tells them things, she at least greets them and interacts with them, even if they don't like her, but she does it. And Mrs. Nelson lets Mandisa take over those responsibilities with her own kids, and she goes and does her own things. So Mandisa spends more time with Mrs. Nelson's kids than her own kids, which is the life of a domestic worker, especially under the apartheid system. And last one, critically discuss why it was dangerous for Amy Beale to be in Guguletu on that day, during that time. That day specifically, remember, Xolisi and them skipped school, they were all gathering, and they started protesting, and then Amy Beale, being the good friend, although naive, took her friends there and caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time. That is why it was so dangerous for her to be there, especially because she's white. So they were already protesting. White person. The people, the community were already frustrated, angered, fueled up. They see her, it's like a bull seeing a red color, red cloak, charged straight for that. That's what led to her murder. So yeah, that's it. Please study. Study. You have all the notes. Please practice. If you don't have enough questions, get chat. You guys' favorite. Get chat to help you. Okay? If you need help, come find me or message me with questions. But you guys have got this. 90%, if not more, but never less. Okay? Practice your essays. Remember with your, if you have to do a planning for your essay, mind map. If you do a rough draft, fantastic. Draw a line through it. Indicate word count. Try not to leave things out. Okay, guys, got this. I believe in you. Good luck.